Hi, my name is Eddie Archer, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I manage a private practice called Anchor Point Family Services. So I wanted to take a quick second and teach you or tell you about how you can afford or pay for your ideal therapist. So you see, I put on my fancy coat so that we can have serious conversations about serious money. All right, so here's one thing I want to say before I start, and this is going to be something hard to hear, and I want you to understand it. You can, in fact, just mute the video for the next 10 seconds while I say it. But we pay for the things that matter to us. All right, unmute. Perfect. Okay, so here's the point. The things that we care about the most, we will put money towards. The average American pays $22 a week for coffee, right? Because you gotta run, you gotta go faster, you gotta feed the addiction. So the things that matter to us, we actually will finance and fund. So I say that simply to make the point that mental health has got to be something that's important to you. It's got to be something that begins to float to the top of your priorities as something that you have to get done, because it's important not just for your well-being, but for the well-being and the well-functioning of your entire family, right? So taking care of your mental health is crucial and extremely important. And I hope you make that a priority in your life, okay? So when you think about funding therapy, a good place to start, a nice baby step that you could put in place is to think about it this way. Can I commit to therapy for 2 months, right? In 2 months, in and out, I want to do therapy, and I want to make it make the next 2 months focused on my mental health, right? And it's easier to digest, it's easier to consume and think about if I put it inside of a targeted window for how I'm going to do this. But it also becomes a bit easier to think about, well, how am I going to fund this for 2 months, 8 weeks? And I want you to think of it that way, because it might mean, hey, let me look at what's coming out of my accounts, the automatic debits or the things that I can renegotiate, so I can make room for therapy over the next 2 months. I did this activity myself, and I looked at my Spotify, my Audible, my Netflix. I looked at renegotiating my cable bill, and that in itself, all those different subscriptions amounted to just about $100. So look, if you look at doing that, and then you add on, well, what's the 2 things that I can sell that I don't necessarily need, that would amount to a couple extra $100. But what you're thinking of is, how do I do this concerted and focused effort for 2 months, all right, so that I can afford to take care of myself, all right? So that's the key thing. All right, so let's get into it. How can you afford your ideal therapist? I want to start off with saying a good therapist is worth their weight in gold. I promise you, if you find somebody that connects to you and you connect with, somebody that you can see yourself following and getting behind, your therapy process, the durability, the value of it, all of that is going to excel. So it really adds to you if you're able to pay your therapist their value, their worth, okay? They're gonna be that much more willing to put themselves on the line to ensure that you get better. So I just want you to feel freedom, if you can afford it, to pay your therapist their worth and their value, okay? All right, so then here's the conversations that you can have with your therapist to help navigate what discounts are possible in pursuing therapy. So the first topic is insurance. All right, I want to do just a quick little highlight now and make sure you know that I created a video earlier that focused on what you lose, the one thing you lose when you use medical insurance for mental health. And that one thing is control. You lose control in many different ways. So check that out. And when you get a chance, just to listen to that. But for some of us, insurance is the only option, and it makes mental health and the care for it accessible. So put that before anything else. I promise you, take care of yourself, because it's the best thing that you can do for your tomorrow. Okay, take care of your well-being. All right, so and insurance is the way, then do it. Okay, so obviously you can have a conversation with your therapist and find out, hey, do you accept my insurance coverage? One of the things that your therapist can do, even if they don't, they can provide you with a super bill. They can give you a document that you turn into your insurance company, and they will be able to reimburse you for whatever they pay for their mental health. Okay, so that is, and then it becomes more of a copay as opposed to you paying the full fee. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind and to make sure you can afford and move forward with your mental health. All right, here's a couple key options that you can offer your therapist that'll help navigate the discount process and help it be a win-win for both you and for them. Okay, one thing is to have a conversation and say, hey, do you have a sliding scale? Some therapists do have a sliding scale that's based on income, that's based on need. Some therapists actually have, maybe 1 or 2 slots in their caseload where they leave it open for sliding scale or for discounted rates. Just have a quick, question and say, hey, do you have one and would I qualify? Okay. So that's one conversation. Another conversation you can have, maybe have a conversation with your therapist and say, hey, if I can fill a slot that's hard for you to fill, would I be able to get a discounted rate? And that turns into a win-win for both you and the therapist. For us as therapists, it is super easy, depending on the clientele, to fill the evening hours, the weekend hours, the late afternoon hours, the lunch hours. It's easy. But there are other hours that are a bit tougher. Another option that you have is to ask your therapist, is it possible that I can maybe do a discounted fee for 2 to 3 sessions, and then let's do a reassessment at that 3rd or 4th session to see if I can pay the normal rate. This is a great win for you because it allows you to feel out the therapist, and it gives you the opportunity to normalize yourself with what that feels like to go to therapy with that specific person. Okay, so that's one option that you have. Okay, so let's go 2 more. One is you can perhaps ask your therapist if you purchase a package of therapy on the front end. So let's say you say, hey, if I could pay for 8 sessions at one time or 10 sessions at one time, would you be willing to discount the rate? And so that's another way that you can be able to discount rates. And it's great because you usually are able to use those sessions when you feel, and in my case, when I do this, I tell my clients if we're finished with therapy and we do extremely well, I can give them back the rest of the money that we didn't spend. So that becomes another great win-win for you and the therapist. And lastly, ask your therapist if they have any other services that they can that you can subscribe to or be a part of that would offer that discounted rate. So, for example, I beyond just face-to-face work and online work, I'm a therapist for the platforms like Talkspace and BetterHelp, and what that does is it gives my clients access to me throughout the week through messaging and sometimes through audio and visual, but it's one session of therapy. It equals about 1 month of doing it through one of these online apps. So that's another way to start to do the work and also do it with a discounted rate with your ideal therapist. So those are a few ideas on how you can afford your ideal therapist. Remember, one of the points I made in a previous video is that success in therapy is predicated more on 2 things than anything else. And it's not the issue matter, it's not the approach to therapy. The 2 things that matter the most is the connection, the fidelity that you have to the therapist, or that connection that you have to each other. And the second one is your motivation to get in and to do the work. All right. So make sure you're nurturing that first and foremost so that you can have success in your therapy moving forward. All right. Again, my name is Eddie Archer. If you want to find out more about what I'm doing in the community, feel free to go to apfamilycounseling.com and you can learn more about me there. All right. Again, thank you guys.